Hi, and welcome back. In this video, we will deep dive on what cross-functionality actually means and what the benefits of true cross-functionality are. In order to explain this to you, I'd like to run a thought experiment with you. Imagine you're a product owner, and as a product owner, you have one key responsibility: prepare and deliver a ready product backlog for the sprint planning with your team. Let's start out with a first scenario where you have 3 members on your team: a blue person, an orange person, and a pink person. And each of these developers has a specific skill set. In our case, let's say we have 3 skills: skill number 1, skill number 2, and skill number 3. If you look at the skill sets as part of a skills matrix where you have basic level understanding, medium level understanding, and expert level understanding, our blue person would be an expert in terms of skill number 1, our orange person would be an expert in terms of skill number 2, and our pink person would be an expert in terms of skill number 3. Now, in our first scenario, where we have this group, we go into sprint planning. And during sprint planning, as a product owner, you present the sprint goal, which is an outcome that you want to achieve, and you start out by explaining what is the highest priority item in your product backlog. The developers take a look at it and they say, wonderful, we can move this item from the product backlog into our sprint backlog. Now you're off to the second item. This time again, you explain it and you demonstrate how it is connected to your sprint goal. This time, unfortunately, let's say our orange person, team member 2, says, the first item is around 80% of my capacity. The second item would be another 60% of my capacity. 80 plus 60 equals 140. So what happens in that scenario? Maybe you need a few moments for yourself, and ideally you can pause this video. Now that you've spent a bit of time thinking about this, most likely you've come up with a suggestion that, yeah, item number 2 cannot be moved from the product backlog into the sprint backlog because our orange person cannot deliver 140% of their capacity, and none of the others has the skill set to do whatever the orange person was supposed to do. So item number 2 does not move into our sprint backlog and remains in the product backlog. Now we move on to item number 3. And maybe this time the blue person complains and says, the very first item was 70% of my capacity. This third item would be another 50%. 70 plus 50 is 120. I can't do it, which means we as a team can't do it. So item number 1 has moved from your product backlog into your sprint backlog. Item number 2 and 3 were not able to be moved from the product backlog into the sprint backlog. And maybe you're lucky and item number 4 again qualifies based on the capacity of the team to be moved from the product backlog into the sprint backlog. Question for you. Are you, as a product owner who has spent a significant amount of time and energy to prioritize the product backlog, happy with the outcome of your sprint planning? My guess is you're not. Because instead of moving items based on their priority from the product backlog into the sprint backlog, they have been selected or moved from one backlog to the other based on the capacity and the bottlenecks within the team. So when we look at this group of people, which in many organizations is already considered to be a cross-functional group, we still have some downsides. Because we can't move items based on their priority, we always have to look at the capacity. Another big downside is the following scenario. Imagine that in one of our sprints, one person, let's take our pink person, who's in charge of quality assurance and testing, is not there. They might be on vacation, they might be quarantined or sick, they might have left the organization. If we don't dilute our definition of done, so quality assurance and testing is still part of it, how much work, how many items can that group of people actually move to done in that sprint? If you're saying 0, you're absolutely right. Because none of the other 2 has the ability to deliver or to do the tests and the quality assurance necessary according to our definition of done. So once that skill set is missing, once that person is missing, we suddenly cannot deliver anything unless we dilute our definition of done, and that, of course, is not the right thing to do. So what is an alternative? What kind of scenario, what kind of team composition can help us to address these challenges of A, being able to select our items based on their priority, and B, to be able to deal with it if one of our team members goes on vacation or is at home being sick? This takes us to our second scenario. We look at the same group of people, again, 3, blue, orange, and pink. This time, the skills matrix looks a bit different. And in order to demonstrate that, we only look at our orange person. If you remember, our orange person used to be an expert in skill number 2. But this time, they're not only an expert in skill number 2, they also have some basic level understanding with regards to skill number 1 and skill number 3. Compared to the first scenario, where their skill set was very deep but narrow, we refer to this as I-shaped, this time our team member has a deep but also broad level of expertise. We refer to this as T-shape. This does not mean that they are generalists, because in many cases, generalists are considered as people who have zero expertise in anything. But obviously, in our case, team member Orange is still an expert for the skill set number 2. Now let's look at how this changes the equation, how this changes the challenges that we were facing in the first scenario. When our blue team member complains that they cannot deliver an item because the first item already takes a certain percentage of their capacity, this time the orange team member could say, I can help you. I might not be as good at it and maybe not as fast as you, but still I can be of help. And maybe you can focus on the pieces that really require the deepest level of your expertise, whereas I focus on the things which only require basic level understanding. Now you can see how this first and initial challenge associated with the first scenario can be addressed by this team, by this group of people, where we have people that are not only I-shaped but are actually T-shaped, because they can actually support each other, help each other, and now we can move items from the product backlog into the sprint backlog based on our priorities and not only based on the capacities. Looking at the second challenge, where one team member missing resulted in us not being able to deliver anything unless we would dilute the definition of done, we can again see that if any one of our team members is missing, because the others have a basic level of understanding in terms of their skill set, still many items can be moved to done. Of course, we will lose speed, but still we're able to finish stuff. Still, we're able to deliver value for our customers. So a true cross-functional team is not a group of people where all skills exist in order to move an item to done. A true cross-functional team is a team where all members of that team have such a broad level of skills that they can not only support each other and move items based on their priorities from the product backlog into the sprint backlog, but also support each other to the extent that if one team member is missing, they can still deliver value for customers. I hope this video gave you a good understanding of what A, cross-functionality means, and B, what the benefits of true cross-functionality, for example, T-shaped people, bring to you. In our next video, we're going to explore the journey that a group of developers takes over time in order to become better and better at building products with high value for customers. See you in that next video.